2025. Thank you for joining us this evening, those of you who are here and those who are maybe watching remotely. We'll begin, as often we do, with an invocation tonight by Father John Forbes of Sacred Heart Church, a neighbor right down the road here. And it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Charlie Karuba, who's a pre-K 5-year-old, which is going to be a record-setting pledge leader tonight. And he's also following in the family tradition because his older brother Sam is there, who once led us in the pledge a while back. Father, please.
Good and gracious God, we praise and thank you for gathering us together on this beautiful day. We ask that you might send your choicest blessings down upon our village, and we give thanks for all those who serve us. We ask that you might inspire us, that we might always keep in mind those who have special need among us, and help us to make this the strongest and most wonderful community it's possible for it to be. We ask all these things through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. Charlie, you can come up to the microphone and we'll all rise and look at the flag. Go right ahead. Speak into the microphone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie. Well done. Well done, Charlie. Well done. Okay. That's a tough act to follow, but our village manager will now lead us with the reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Saturday is our St. Patrick's Day Parade, so that starts downtown at 10 a.m. So we hope to see a lot of people there wearing green. And also, the Pinehurst Garden Club is having their annual spring plant sale. It will be Sunday, April 27th, but pre-ordering begins Saturday, March 15th. So, Barb, if you have any additional information on that, you can let us know. But and then the only other thing that I wanted to bring up is that the Highway 5 Old NC2 McKenzie Road intersection is having the traffic signal poles painted. So that will be going on one more day, and hopefully after that it'll be all clear and smooth sailing through that area.
Good. Thank you. Have a few items to report on. In the last couple weeks, I've attended a few gatherings that I want to share with everybody. I attended the USGA's annual meeting about a week or so ago. A couple hundred people there from across the country, and we got a report on the health of golf and its future challenges, and there was a general feeling of optimism, which is always good for those of us who live here in Pinehurst, and talked to some people from elsewhere who it actually was their first visit to Pinehurst, and of course they were quite impressed with our community. Also attended the centennial celebration of the village chapel, the 100th anniversary of the opening of the village chapel, and it's a very crowded event, and one of the they opened one capsule and put a new capsule in, time capsule, and they opened up a capsule, and in there was a scorecard from 1925 from somebody who played golf on, I think it was the minister at the time, on number 2, and then they put in a new capsule. And one of the surprises was that a descendant of the Tufts family was there to join the gathering, Mr. Robert Tufts. So life goes on at the village chapel. I also attended the North Carolina Economic Development Association meeting at the Pinehurst Country Club, where I provided some opening remarks to about, I'm going to say about 175 people who were all involved in economic development, and many of them first-time visitors to Pinehurst. So once again, the staff and the garden club and others have the place really looking quite well, and people are impressed with us, with our village. I also attended earlier this week, or excuse me, late last week, the quarterly meeting of the mayors and town managers. This time it was held in Carthage. This rotates among the municipalities here in the county of Moore. And we all compared notes about what was going on in various communities. And there was total opposition to the recent bill that was passed at the end of the last General Assembly regarding restrictions on the ability of municipalities to downzone, and the 180-day retroactivity provision of that bill, which annoyed a couple of people in particular. And it's and it was in particular is having impact on Southern Pines and Cameron at the moment. But for us, we were a little ahead of the curve since we went through a lot of the small area plans and updating some of our guidelines a few years ago. So that was fine. But we need to be very cognizant of this, because these various attempts to sort of encroach on the few responsibilities and authorities that municipalities have is not good for those of us who serve in a position like we do on a village council. And along those lines, just two other items. One, I did attend and you've certainly read about it in the paper, the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, which it took up an item, a development item in Pinehurst South, that will be coming to the council for future review. And the story in the pilot was accurate, and it looks like it's something that'll be very good for the village of Pinehurst from the standpoint of more housing options, and also from the standpoint of Pinehurst South, which doesn't always attract the development that happens in other parts of our village. And we also attended the Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and the meeting itself was quite historic, so I thought I'd share with you for a minute. They had 2 tie votes regarding a proposal before them, and so it's probably, I did a little research. I found an old article from the pilot. It's about 5 or 6 years ago that the council at that time made some changes to the guidelines that govern the HPC. And I mentioned it to the person who had been chairing that HPC meeting, that, it might be time for us to get some more new guidelines for us to think about and look at, because tie votes are frustrating for all involved, the members on the commission as well as the applicants. And so maybe that's something we can look at and think about this coming year, so that we can, as a village, get caught up in that particular area. And lastly, from time to time, I find one of those daily police reports, and it's about a week ago Saturday. They were quite busy. They had 21 citations they issued in one day, which is a pretty significant number, and then 5 written and 4 verbal warnings. So the Pinehurst Police Department is on the job, and that's good for all of us here. So on that note, I will ask Dr. Morgan if he has something to add.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. I've got a few things here. This past Friday, I was over at Fort Bragg for the redesignation ceremony, and it was redesignated in the honor of Roland Bragg. And he was a private first class in World War II that won the Silver Star. But excellent ceremony, Representative Pinehurst there, and we are now having our community Fort Bragg again, but it's for Roland Bragg. I'd encourage you to look online to see his background. It is very impressive. They did have his family members who are from Maine down here, and Roland did do some of his training at Fort Bragg because he was part of the 18th Airborne Division at that time in World War II. Also have attended numerous events at the Fair Barn over the past month. Usually it's been involving some sort of fundraisers for different organizations, and I'll tell you that each time I'm there, I always hear people commenting on just how great the Fair Barn is and what a great venue it is. And every time it looks superb. So kudos go out to the folks working on that for your staff, Doug, just in the Fair Barn. It's run in an excellent manner, and I've heard nothing but great things on there, and it's been used quite a bit. We do have funerals that occur here, like any town does. This past couple weeks, I attended one at the village chapel in reference to a Robert Knapp, Bob Knapp, and I bring this up just because a lot of times people don't know just how many heroes we have in our community. And Bob Knapp graduated from West Point in '67. But he spent, the year after that, spent 9 months in Vietnam. And during that 9 months, he got 2 Silver Stars, 5 Bronze Stars for Valors, and 2 Purple Hearts. Went back to serve in West Point in a leadership capacity and finished his career. Retired out. But this is a man that I never heard him once talk about any of his combat items. And it was always downplayed and was a very humble man. And he passed, and we did a celebration of life for him. But we had an American hero who passed away from our midst, and just want to recognize him formally in the council meeting. Did take a trip over to Rassy-Wicker Park. They have a new turf field, and I'm looking forward to the grand opening of that, but that looks excellent. Walked on it and said, so we have a neat place, and I'm looking forward for our kids to be able to join that. And I would have more, but I have to take a grandpa gratuitous gesture here and say that I did go to Ohio for 3 days and see the birth of my granddaughter 7 or 8 days ago. So I've been more.
Well done.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for all that report and that news. So we'll move on from there. John Taylor.
Couple of things. First of all, I was also at the HBC meeting, and I know that they have been working on a number of individually minor tweaks to the historic district standards. I'm not sure why they have not come before us yet, why they haven't finished them. I know that the number of applications recently is going up. I think they have 6 or 7 COA applications for this coming month. But I do think that we will see something forthcoming on fairly broad. They don't like to pepper council with just 2 or 3 things, but they have a fairly extensive list dealing with a number of structures. I also was at the rescheduled envisioning session for the new terminal at the airport. The consultants who are driving that process are now in the process. Each time they've done some sort of exercise, they've taken feedback, and then in the next meeting they presented to be sure that they heard what people actually said. And they will be coming back with one last set of observations prior to moving on to work with the airport commission formally in terms of actually coming up with a design. So my responsibilities, at least as part of the advisory committee, are now ended, but we will get one further look at whatever the output is. I think that's it.
Barb Ficklin.
I'll just follow up briefly with the annual spring plant sale that Doug mentioned earlier. The only thing I would add is you can pre-order beginning March 16th. For more information, website is www.pinehurstgardenclub.org. Secondly, I'm going to mention, which I did the last meeting we had, that the North Carolina State Extension Office is offering a workshop for adults called Cultivating Curiosity, Connecting Kids to Farm, Garden, and Nature. It's a free workshop on March 18th from 9 to 12 at the Co-op Extension Center in Carthage. Lastly, I know that many of you are aware of the fact that we have had any number of weather-related red flag burning warnings going on because of low humidity and increased wind. And The fire chief has asked us to remind everyone that burning is not allowed in the village of Pinehurst. We cannot burn yard debris or natural materials. He also asked that we discourage the use of any outdoor fire pits during fire danger times. And if a resident is using one, would ask if they have a garden hose or a bucket of water readily available. In addition to that, there is a sheet called Outdoor Burning Facts. It has highlights of what is and is not permitted in the village around outdoor burning, and it can be accessed through our village website. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Councilman Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did join the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting last week. Was held over at the community center. It was a good meeting. I think that the primary emphasis was to go through the list of projects that the village manager presented, trying to gain some understanding as to a prioritization methodology, if you will. It's a long list of projects, surprisingly, both pedestrian-oriented and also some multimodal oriented also. So hopefully they'll come to fruition, although I will note that many of the projects are kind of outside of our control in the sense that they are either a part of or associated with another project that, for example, DOT would be implementing in the future years. So, but it's good to see we have a long list. The question is, can we afford it, and how much can we affect it? I think the focus, as I understand it, from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee was to enhance interconnectivity between the neighborhoods and the downtown within Pinehurst. I think that's a significant goal and one we ought to keep in mind. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. We'll now move on to item 4, which is the motion to approve the consent agenda. All items listed below are considered routine or have been discussed at length in previous meetings and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion will be held unless requested by a member of the village council. So let us go through these. There's the approval of village council meeting minutes from February 25th regular meeting and from February 25th work session meeting. And then we will also approve the FY 2025 budget amendments report. So I will entertain either a discussion or a motion.
I move to approve all the items listed and consider routine on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. Very good. Let's go to item 5, which is public comments. Public comments. Shannon, do we have? Okay. Mary Ellen Welsh of St. Andrews Drive.
Yeah, Mariana was here before. I think Mike Apke answered her question. I talked to her before the meeting, and she's not here right now. So
Okay, Mike. Okay, thank you. I saw.
good job, Mike.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I saw some email earlier, so okay. I recognize the name. Very well. Is there anyone else who might have any public comments who had not signed up to make any and would like to speak now? Please come forward. Hearing none, we'll conclude that. And now we'll go on to item 6, which is resolutions. And the first item is the consideration of resolution 25-08, amending the position classification and pay plan policy. I gather this is Angie? Okay.
While Angie's coming up, I'll do a little introduction. So we typically only come before the board with one time that we amend the classification plan, but because we've been talking about hiring this part-time parking attendant, we're coming before you now so that we can hire it and have it in place to start at the beginning of the fiscal year.
That's about it. There are no changes to the policy. The only change we have is to the seasonal part-time table where we added the parking attendant. The other thing I did to that table, grade 11P and 12P previously were the exact same minimum and maximum. Just had the camp counselor in one and the facility supervisor in the other. So I just combined those two.
Okay.
And then we've added the parking attendant to grade 19P.
In all the other grades and positions there had been in place before that are listed.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Any questions for Angie? Comments? None?
I have just one comment, and Angie and I spoke about this yesterday. Actually, I would just give you a call tomorrow. I'm not sure that the language in that one section says what we intended to say, but in terms of the specific change, no questions.
Right in the policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be bringing this back in June for the big changes that we normally make every year. And so we'll talk about that language at that point.
I'll send you a suggestion and you can incorporate that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that brief discussion, and we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 25-08, amending the position classification and pay plan policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Let us go on to general business, number 7. A, which is got sort of Mike Apke's name all over it. Reject bids for construction of sidewalks in number 6 neighborhood and re-advertise. Go ahead, Mike or Doug, whoever wants to lead.
I'll address this, and Mike can add anything he'd like. But we received bids in February for the construction of the sidewalks in Pinehurst number 6. The low bidder came in with this price. We had some concerns as we were looking over the bids. It seems like pavement markings has a lot of fluctuation in it, and so we are looking to re-advertise, reject the current bids, re-advertise, and clarify or most likely eliminate that pavement markings, and we'll go hire our own pavement marking company to handle that, and we think that will be able to save us money. We've also had some concerns with maybe the lower bidder. We think they might have some capacity issues, so this also helps alleviate that issue as well.
Okay. It looks like this will move rather quickly so that we'll have a bid approved by the council by April 8th.
Yeah, so this project has been going on for a while. We'd like to get it moving as quickly as possible, especially for those residents in number 6. There's also several contractors that have had opportunity to look at this project in the past, so it shouldn't take them long to reassess and revise their bids. So we hope the quick turnaround makes its project get going as soon as possible.
All right. Questions from the council?
Just a comment. I appreciate you bringing this back up to us, and while we're trying to make this happen quickly, it's also more important to make it happen right. And certainly have been involved in this in a variety of different capacities and looking at different things, and I agree with this. And I do agree with us rejecting this and re-advertising it to make sure we get it right. To quote the mayor in the previous things, there are no mulligans here.
Just either for Mike or Doug, if you took the
Pavement markings?
if you took the marking aside, is it possible for evaluation purposes, to look at what the bids were, and are they generally in line with what we were budgeting?
Yeah, we made a slight budget amendment a couple of weeks ago
Right.
to address it, but yeah, it was mostly in line with what we thought, slightly higher, but we think if we take out those pavement markings, we might actually get better bids and be within the original budget, hopefully.
Great, thanks.
Do we expect multiple bids, or?
Yeah,
We
Go
do,
ahead.
yes.
We
No,
do.
We do. We have several contractors that are waiting to see if this comes back out for bids or not.
Well, that's good news. All right. Any other questions? Barb, Jack? No? Okay. Well, you have your green light.
I think we need to do a motion on this, so
Yeah.
as permitted by NCGS 143-129, I move to reject the bids received for the construction of sidewalks in Pinehurst Number 6 neighborhood and to re-advertise the project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion adopted. We will go on to letter B, review of 2025 roadway resurfacing project. And one thing I'll say is was impressed about the number of our residents who actually read this map because I think if you're like me, you had a few people asking questions. So go ahead, Mike.
Sure. Just to have a quick update on this project and then can field any questions that you may have. So back in October, I brought before you our road resurfacing contract for fiscal year 25. And council awarded about a $1.3 million project to Turner Asphalt. They are out of Raleigh, North Carolina. It's about 4.5 miles of roads within our village limits. I do want to say, and I mentioned this when we awarded the project, but we select the roads. We have a process for selecting the roads that we use every year. We have a committee that is comprised of the village manager, assistant village manager, myself. We look at our pavement condition survey, which is a document prepared by an engineering firm every 3 years. They give a rating of each of our road segments from block to block, and then we select the ones we want to resurface based off of those ratings. Generally speaking, we are always resurfacing the lowest rated roads within the village, and this is no exception to that. Each road segment gets a score of between 0 to 100. The roads that are in our package this year generally scored in the 50s and 60s, which anything less than a 65 is considered poor by the survey. Most of these are in that range. And so we select that. Of course, we send that out for bids. We had gotten 3 bids this year, and council awarded it to Turner Asphalt. Project is underway. It's going well. It has had a few challenges, as these projects always do. We've had some residents we've had to address some issues with, but overall things have gone well thus far. You can see on the map up there in the lower left-hand corner, Weldon Court is complete, Ivy Way has been done, and they have been working on Diamond Head Drive, which is obviously a pretty major collector road for us in that neighborhood. The asphalt along Diamond Head has been removed and is scheduled to be placed back down tomorrow. And we've got good weather scheduled for tomorrow, so we'll take advantage of that. Once they complete that, they plan to complete St. Andrews Drive up there a little bit to the north. Part of the project on St. Andrews, we actually crossed the existing railroad tracks, so we've been working closely with the Aberdeen, Carolina, and Western Railway and had to close that road because the railroad wanted to replace the cross ties at that road crossing while we paved and have it all done as one project. So I know that's been a bit of an inconvenience for the residents in that area to have. That's a kind of a major ingress and egress point to that neighborhood. So it has been closed. It was closed yesterday. It's been closed today. It should be back open any minute now. I have not gotten the call on it yet, but we are hoping to open that road up by the end of the day today so that traffic can pass through there as well. Next week, assuming all goes well, we have good weather, we will move over and actually doing Monticello Drive and Blake Boulevard. So again, some pretty major roads for us, which is kind of the theme for this year's package. A lot of times we do kind of side roads and back roads and cul-de-sacs. These are pretty significant roads. Monticello and Blake, we actually will move up into Village Acres and do Rattlesnake Trail. We'll have Rattlesnake Trail, and then in Village Acres have Gun Club Drive and Forest Drive, which will be major roads into that subdivision as well. We do not anticipate any more road closures, though. The only reason we had to close St. Andrews was because of the railroad crossing there. But we anticipate completing the resurfacing within the next few weeks. We did, I don't know if you remember, but we did actually reject, we bid out the striping work as an alternate bid on that project, and for whatever reason, the low bidder on the resurfacing was way higher on the striping. So we've rebid the striping work, and we'll come back once the resurfacing is done and put lines and stop bars and crosswalks down. So We hope to be complete with everything in May, within the next couple of months, but so far so good. It is a bit of an inconvenience, but man, freshly paved roads sure do travel a lot better. They feel a lot better to drive on than the roads in the condition that they are now.
Let me just clarify one thing. You had one moment said in the next 2 weeks, and then you just said at the end of May. So what's the difference, or did I mishear?
Yeah, so we hope within the next 2 to 3 weeks to have the asphalt done, but then it's going to take some time to go back and put the striping down on it.
Okay, so
we hope to have everything done with the striping and all that done. I think it'll be before then, but we've asked them to have it done by the end of May, the striping work.
End of May. Okay.
I'm hoping to be done well ahead of that, Pat.
Mike, both Lake and Monticello cross the railroad tracks. Do we take it all the way to Route 5? Or
We are stopping on both of those before the tracks. Our pavement condition survey for Blake actually showed the worst section going. It goes to where there's like a divided highway there, and the section beyond that was in good enough shape that we kept it. And then Monticello, the tracks are so close to Highway 5, we looked at it and we decided just to stop there. We actually discussed that with the railroad, and they said they could replace their tracks in there, or the cross ties in there if they need to, but it wasn't as critical as St. Andrews, so we're just going to stop before that and not impact the railroad on either one of those crossings.
Yeah, and Blake is quite a hump over the tracks. I'm surprised no more trailer trucks don't get hung up there. Another question, do we ever get questions about changes in stormwater flow after we do some paving along these roads? And if so, how do we handle that?
Sure, I get it quite often, to be honest with you.
Makes a difference sometimes.
It's I didn't have this issue until you guys paved the road. We do get that fairly frequently. We will go evaluate that. You know, one thing we're doing this year with these roads is we are milling out the existing asphalt and we are placing it back. In theory,
Okay, so we're not raising the road
in
bed.
theory, we should not be raising the road. In the past, we have done some times where we raise the road up, and sure, if a residence is low and we raise that up a little bit, there is the potential for more water to go to
Big
them.
much, you're
So
right.
we are hoping to not have that be an issue this year, but if that does come up, if a complaint comes up, we'll address it accordingly.
Yeah, Mike really appreciated the rain yesterday because it made this very apparent to all the new paved neighbors.
We did get a call yesterday about one area with the paving and drainage, so yes, it was actually helpful to us.
Go ahead, John.
Mike, when the consultant does the drive all around and they look at not only the road surface, but also the right-of-way adjacent to the actual paved area?
They do not. It's just a pavement condition survey, so it's only the asphalt itself.
I happened to be on both sides of St. Andrews yesterday because I forgot and approached the place I was going the wrong way. And also was up and down Gun Club a couple of times 2 days before. And to the untrained eye, I wouldn't have said that they were materially worse shape than a lot of other roads, but obviously they scored that way. Other than potholes, which would be pretty obvious, what are they looking at?
I think there's 8 or 9. I think it's 8. I think there's 8 different, and it's a set standard, I guess. I think it's ITRI standard is what it's called. There's 8 different, it's not defects, but 8 different things that they look for, and each one gets a score. One is like cracking, is alligator cracking, so you'll see one is what's called reflective cracking. One is called spalling. One is called the patching. One they actually do, like rideability, I think. So there's a whole list of criteria that they evaluate for each, and they're very well trained in this. That's why we hire a third-party, engineering firm to do that, who specializes in this. And so they get a score for each one of those different criteria, and then it calculates the overall score for that road section.
If you had anything in writing, I'd love to see it just
Sure.
for my own education.
We have the whole pavement condition survey I can send to you if you'd like to read it.
Happy to get the abridged version. but
Got that question.
One other question. Obviously, the Rattlesnake Gun Club, that's both sides of 211 there. Anything in particular we have to watch for, prepare residents for? I drive it regularly, so I know there's a good bit of traffic. That's my-
Sure. Yes, I think so. Kristen's been great with the stuff we've done over in the lake area, just to get the word out. She reaches out to NAC members to make sure they're aware of that. She's been posting stuff on social media. Once we get to that, we will be reaching out to the HOAs and the NACs of those areas. With Rattlesnake there, I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you, about that first little driveway that goes into the nursing home there,
Yeah.
whatever, the Greens place
nursing
there.
home, yeah.
And having that down to one lane and people trying to turn in and get in there. So that'll be one area we'll need to check with the contractor to make sure they feel like they can keep that open. We had a similar issue on Gun Club when the county was there trying to put the water and sewer taps for that house they
On the
built
corner.
immediately on the left, and they wanted to actually close it just because of traffic coming in and out. So we're aware that those are pretty high volume areas, and we'll work with the contractor to make sure we keep it safe.
I suspect with the community center activity, that produces a bit of
and
a challenge.
Actually, I'm glad you said that. We're going to pave Rattlesnake, I think, the week of Moore County spring break, because I'm concerned about the traffic that comes from the elementary school and goes up
Right.
there, and trying to manage that in the afternoons at pickup time. There's a lot of cars between about 2:30 and 3 o'clock that go through there. So I think we're going to try to do that when school is not in session to help alleviate that.
All right. Well, thanks for this report. Is there any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. No? Okay, good luck.
You.
Keep us posted. All right. That brings us to item 8, other business. And I'll ask my fellow council members, is there any particular or other business item they would like to raise or discuss while we have some time here? And so I'll start, anyway, I'll start here on the right. John, anything you want to raise? No? Dr. Morgan? Okay, there. Jack? Barb?
Yes.
Go right
Two things. Actually, I'm getting lots of questions around. One is, where are we with the Granicus STR monitoring system? Where are we around our timeline in terms of rolling out and launching? And when might we expect some of these letters to go out?
Yeah, we could talk about this more later if you want, but staff has been training over the last couple of weeks, and we got access to the system last week, and so we're diving into it, trying to figure out how it works and things like that. So we are on par to get this out and start sending letters out in April.
The other item that I guess questions around is, what's going on with the library? So maybe a brief update there.
Yep. So you may recall that we discussed that the technical review committee, which is made up of our village planner, the assistant village manager, Mike, they have had an opportunity to review that. They provided comments to the architect, and the architect is responding to those and should have a response back to us any day now. So once those are received, the TRC team has time to review them and make sure that their responses are adequate and the changes they're proposing work for us. I think we're pretty much at the stage where we can say, okay, let the bids hit the street.
So are these building design or more likely site plan issues?
Most of them are site plan issues. In fact, I can't think of any that are not a site plan
Right,
issue.
okay, yeah, that's what I would
Yeah.
expect, yeah, thank you.
And what is a reasonable amount of time for turnaround from putting the specs out for bid to, is it likely would make April 8th? Or is it more likely the second meeting in April?
From when they're put out to bid to when we receive bids?
So when we would see them again as a bid?
Yeah. April 8th might be a little soon. It all depends on what the response is from the architects. So if they have adequately addressed all the issues, then that might be a possibility, but we just have
So
to
it's
make sure.
one of the 2 meetings in April. So that's only. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
And do you want me to bring it back to you before it actually goes out to bid? Or do you want me to just, hey,
What would
hit
we
the road?
add, what would we add to the
Yeah,
process?
exactly. That's kind of what I thought. So
Think so.
when it is released, I will certainly let you know.
Okay, other questions or items? Nope. Okay, we go to item number 9, if someone would like to address that.
The only thing I would mention is we are an hour ahead here.
Clock has not been adjusted.
I move to adjourn the regular meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is going to be a record. We're actually adjourning 20 minutes before we begin, so according to the clock. So I want to compliment the entire staff and council members. Okay, we will adjourn. Maybe we can take a 5-minute break and come back at 4:15. Does that sound good?